Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Just Two Brothers podcast, where we will be sharing our journey so far and some of the simple tactics we've learned that have helped us become great leaders. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Just Two Brothers podcast. We're going to fall back to our series of what is. We've been doing supervisor. We've gotten to what is a team lead. We also did a day in the life of a supervisor. So today we're going to cover a day in the life of a team lead. A couple weeks back, Joe talked about some of his experience in the Marine Corps, being a team leader. And today we're going to break down, his experience is more in the military side of everything. My experience comes from the manufacturing side. So I'm going to walk through what would have been an ideal day in a team leader's life, and Joe is going to chime in with military background and experience where it's relevant and kind of give his how his days would go to. His days looked a little bit differently, and I'll let him talk about that a little bit. But being in a factory or whatever in a setting every day where you return to the same setting, same situation day in and day out is quite a bit different than what you had.
So my situation was a little bit different so my experience in the Marine Corps, I enlisted as a reservist. So I still had a normal day-to-day job that I went to every single day. And then 1 weekend a month and then 2 weeks in the summer, I would do training. So my team leader experience was very different because it was only 1 weekend in the month where I was considered a team leader, where I had to check in with my team once a week, whatever, just to make sure people were good. But people can just say they're good, shoot out a quick text and be done with it. That was the extent of like checking in with a team. When it actually came to doing the job, it all was very dependent on what was all going on, if I even had anything to do, or if we were even doing our jobs.
Sorry, you still have glitter all over your face. Every time I see you, I find a new piece somewhere.
Dude, it's been like 2 fucking weeks.
I didn't realize it was that long ago. Oh, man.
Yes. It's on my towels, man. Took a shower. That's what I'm saying. Like,
so quick sidetrack. Let's get sidetracked for a quick second. Let's tell people what happened. Because yeah, you have green glitter everywhere, and I think when you wipe it, you just put a new piece somewhere.
I pulled laundry out of the dryer a couple weeks ago, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and pulled out some towels or something, and a big poof of glitter went up in the air. And I thought, oh, this is going to be fun. And ever since, I've been pulling glitter off of bedding, the dog, clothes, laundry, everywhere. It's everywhere.
You still don't know where it came from.
No. I asked my daughter a week ago, I said, hey, have you, because she pointed out, you got sparkles on your face, Dad. I said, yeah. Said, you wouldn't happen to be playing with anything with like glitter or anything like that lately, have you? Maybe. Like, so the glitter might have come from you? Maybe. And it's all, she's a sweetheart. Man, some things I think she sets me up for.
Yeah, she's already a teenager.
Oh, man.
Good luck.
But anywho.
Best years yet to come. So yeah, back to the story at hand. Talking about your sparse team leader experience in the reserves.
Yeah, so being every one weekend a month, could have been 2 days, could have been 4 days. It was all
Not sparse, sparingly, I guess let's call it.
very dependent on what we had going on, if I even had any roles to do or whatever. I have experience as well in leading, like I've said before, leading installs and leading a team at our shop. So I have experience
leading.
as leading teams, but not in a day-to-day role where
Okay.
there's going to be any sort of a consistent schedule or
Right.
follow-up or reporting to somebody
Right.
on a day-to-day basis for an extended period of time.
So how would it have been different if you were military? Like that was what you were doing. You were in the Marine Corps. That was your job, and you were a team leader. What do you know what that would have looked like? I guess what would your days have been different than others because of your position?
I'd have more meetings to go to. You take all responsibility for everything that happens in your team. If your team is messed up, you're taking that hit. So
there may have been some sort of routine to your day as a team leader.
Yeah, a little bit more routine, and then there's more actual one-on-one time with your people. Like I could still go and see. You're not supposed to work after hours, but there's shit that happens after hours in the Marine Corps that you go make a visit to the guys in your team, and there's a lot of shit that happens in the military that you don't get that in civilian world, and there's some positive things that can come out of that and some not so positive things that can come out of that, but the military has a difference where you spend extensive time with the people you're with.
Right.
So your team becomes your family, and
right.
And with factory work, with civilian life, it's the same. I mean, you can become really close with those that you work
absolutely
with, but not in the sense of you're likely going to go to war or fight,
right,
and possibly die with these people.
Yeah.
So there's a different bond there. You spend a lot more time with the people, so you can develop different relationships. Like I'd sleep in the same foxhole as guys that were in my team.
Yeah.
Like you sleep side by side with people that you're serving with, that you're in charge of. So that day-to-day life is a little bit different in that aspect. There'd be more meetings and things. Like you obviously have to report to a squad leader, which squad leader in the Marine Corps, that's your supervisor in the factory setting.
Yep.
So, the way that the military breaks it down, so a team is consistent of 4 individuals. A squad is consists of 3 teams. So you have 1 team leader is in charge of 3 people, and then 1 squad leader, the supervisor, is in charge of 3 team leads.
Okay.
So you have 12 people that you're in charge of as a squad leader, but really you're only reporting to 3 of them.
Okay.
And I think that's the best way to break down how that system works. I mean, there's your regular, just everyday people that have no leadership position. You got 3 of them. Then you have somebody that's in charge of those 3. And then those 3 team leaders, they report to the supervisor, the squad leader. There's 3 squads in a platoon. Those 3 squad leaders report to the platoon leader. The platoon sergeant, the platoon commander.
Yep.
It's usually a staff NCO, an officer, or whatever. So that's where that hierarchy goes up, and the more you get promoted, the more roles you take on, and then you end up getting into those platoon leads and more company grade after that, but it's all broken down in groups of 3. So you don't ever have more than 3 or 4 people you're reporting to at one point in time.
Okay.
Or you are reporting to you.
Yep.
I mean, so I think that's a good way to break down if you look at factories, that's how factories are. I mean, each individual team is a group of X amount of individuals, and then there's so many team leads.
Yep.
And then they all report to the supervisors or production supervisors or whatever, and there might be different groups broken out.
Yeah, so the
Throughout
structure
there,
within
too.
the organizations is extremely I mean, it's identical.
Yes.
Other than maybe team size. Factories, team sizes are going to be larger. I had anywhere from 4 or 5 to 8, 9, maybe 10 on each team, depending on how many were required to run the equipment in that area. So, yeah, it varied, but
And it's easy.
otherwise it's
easy
identical.
to communicate to 3 people.
Yep.
Very easy to communicate things to 3 people.
Yep.
And that's why it's just efficiency's sake for the military. That's how they structure it that way. But yeah, you can't do that on factory floors because what do you have, three team leaders per work cell because you have 9 people running a cell? That's not going to work out. You got too many chiefs and not enough Indians.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's pretty much sums up the structure of that. As far as the day-to-day life, you have to go and report to more people. You have a little bit more meetings. You're in charge of mentoring your team, telling them where their shortfalls are, trying to work through it, inspecting what they're doing, inspecting the work that they're doing or how they're showing up to work, and addressing situations like that. The team leaders don't get to decide, typically don't get to decide billets, like the jobs that each individual in their team does. That's all determined by the feedback that they give to the squad leader and what the squad leader wants. So the squad leader, the supervisor, is still the one to make those decisions.
Okay.
So you pretty much just a liaison in between the squad leader to pass on the information that needs to be passed, and then you just make sure your guys are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and you're still in the mix of work. You're still right in the fight, doing the job, doing what everybody else is doing. They report to you, and then you report to somebody else. And I think that stays about the same in the factory, the day-to-day civilian setting. I mean, you report to whoever your manager is, your supervisor is. You're going to get the structure for the day. Here's what needs to be accomplished. You're probably going to have to report throughout the day, like, hey, here's if we're meeting our goals, we're not. And then feedback when the supervisor, your squad leader needs it.
Yeah, exactly. The only real major difference I notice is you mentioned you as a team lead are still in there doing the job. Typically, when you're trying to accomplish whatever lean manufacturing you're rolling out, your team lead is hands off. Are there times where they have to get hands on? Absolutely. But you want the majority of their time to be spent problem solving and not working on the equipment. So that would be the major difference. Otherwise, sounds like it's identical.
Yeah, I would agree.
And in the factory life, it's just structured because you report same time every single day, leave at the same time every single day.
When I would say even in the various roles I've filled, leading installs and machine builds and everything like that, I'd come in for the day, kind of get a laydown of what needed to be done, find out where we're at in the whole big scope of the project, and then make my list. Here's what needs to be done. Here's what I want each individual to work on. Here's what I'm going to work on. And I'd still be in there doing the work, still wiring, still building the machines, just giving direction to those around me. And that's how that was always structured. There wasn't ever this is the team leader, this is the person in charge of this. It's, hey, he's who knows what's going on, so he's who is going to make the decision. But he isn't me. So
Yeah.
I would just, come in, make my list, get all the guys together. Hey, here's what I want you to do. Here's what I want you to do. Here's what I want you to do. Here's what we're trying to work towards. Here's the goal. By the end of the week, this is where I want us to be. And I kind of try to give day-to-day goals by the end of the week. That way people knew what we wanted to accomplish. And then if you want to work more towards getting that big goal done, you can keep working towards that. You know, without my guidance, what the end goal is.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's essentially what my day consisted of. And then we'd have the project manager or whatever come over, check out what's going on. And it was always good to keep that list and like, here's what's going on, here's what's crossed off, here's what's been accomplished, here's what we're working towards, here's where I think we're going to be by the end of the week. And that was the extent of what I did. Sometimes, hey, how's this person doing? Hey, have you seen this with this person? Hey, have you had issues with so-and-so, or how's so-and-so doing? And that kind of stuff. You give feedback when you can give feedback and move on. Biggest thing is just make sure you know what's going on. The last thing you want to do as a team leader is not know what your team is doing.
I would agree.
Other than that, you're just doing the same work. That's where I think that's what separates a worker from a team leader, is the ability to know what everybody else is doing on top of knowing what you're doing. Because
I would layer on problem solving.
yes. But it's really easy I can be a good problem solver and be able to work towards a goal. But if I'm not paying attention to what everybody else is doing, like I'm staying in my lane, you can't lead a team.
Right.
You can be really good at your job, but you cannot lead others if you're too focused on what you have going on instead of what everybody else has going on in the big picture. So that's a big one, is make sure you know what the hell is going on with every individual on your team. And if somebody's working on something, you should know what they're working on.
Yeah.
So you can at least have an explanation if somebody has questions. Because inevitably somebody's going to have questions.
Yep.
And you should be able to answer them. But other than that, that's what my experience is.
But that's why I would layer in problem solving, because I don't think if you can't problem solve, I don't think you can be a team leader. If you can pay attention to what everybody else does, but you can't problem solve, you can't be a team leader.
You can be a team leader, but it's only going to get you so far, or people are going to see through your bullshit.
If you don't know how to fix the like let's say you're watching people work. You don't know how to fix the problems. I mean problem solver in general. Like if you just want to tattletale, I'm sorry, you can't be a team lead. You need to be able to problem solve.
Some people do it. You'll see it. People that are just good at watching what other people are doing.
But they're not a good.
They're not
going
to last as a good as a team leader.
So but that's what I mean. You can't be it without both.
Yep.
I think you have to have the ability to do both. You can't have just one or the other.
I agree. But yeah, that's my experience in a day-to-day life as a team leader. Nothing set in stone. That was kind of just shoot from the hip, do what you have to do, give the information when it's needed, and then once the job was done, go back to doing my day-to-day thing.
I have firefighter written down for team leader. They're first line of defense. I have that. Firefighter, first line of defense, is the team leader.
Yes.
Like you said, it's almost, yes, you have some structure to your day, but you almost don't, because it's just chaos.
You are always putting out fires.
Yes.
And if you're good at it, you're going to have more fires than you can handle.
Yes.
Because everybody's going to come to you with everything. And that's where you need to start being able to create good firefighters out of those that are in your team too. Mm-hmm. Make them good problem solvers.
And how do you do that?
You can't always be the one solving problems, and you're not always going to be there.
Right.
Because you might go on vacation, you might be sick, you might have something happen with kids or a significant other. So you might not always be there, and there might be problems that need to be solved, so you need to create good firefighters. But yes, you are always putting out fires. Mm-hmm. And you might have days where you get nothing accomplished. but
Feel like you get nothing accomplished.
but you kept everything going.
Right. Team leaders are harder working than supervisors,
100%.
or need to be.
Mm-hmm.
As unfortunate as that may be, they are going to work harder than supervisors will.
Yes, and that's
They're boots on the ground. I mean, they're right there.
and that's normal though, because the
Right.
higher you go up in leadership, you're working less hard. The actual physical labor, the physical work, the physically exhausting work is all done at that base level. So the production workers into the team leaders, they are going to be the hardest working people
Right.
when it comes to a physical standpoint. And then once you move up, it's more working with people, more the big picture of things, and more mental.
Yes, but as a supervisor, if your team is running well, you will have more time just free.
Mm-hmm.
You can fill that with other things if you want to, but you will have more free time just in general. Your team lead's not going to get that. They may get it sparingly,
Yeah.
but they're not going to get the free time that a supervisor gets.
No, because they're keeping everything running.
It doesn't stop.
They are keeping everything. They're the motor that keeps the whole
Yes.
operation going.
Yes.
And if that motor's not working,
So if you don't have that, team leading is not for you. You need to be able to work.
which is where 2 weeks ago when the episode came out about what is a team leader, that's where that wet noodle comes in. You can't a team leader that's not moving or just pushing isn't going to get anything done.
Right.
They have to be the one to lead the fight. They have to be the one doing the work. They have to be the one setting the example. You bust your ass as a team leader, and your team's going to bust their ass for you.
Yep, exactly.
But it's exhausting. You have to keep that up.
Yep.
You have to keep that up.
Yeah. So should we add a little structure to a team leader's day? I'll take you
Yeah.
through a kind of what an ideal day would look like for a team leader in a manufacturing setting.
Yep.
I'm going to use my most recent experience, and I believe that probably most closely portrays what the general manufacturing position looks like. So, first thing in the morning, you're going to meet with your team and have some type of meeting with stretches and information sharing. Ours, I had already gone through that in the day of the supervisor, so I'm not going to go into more depth there, but there's going to be some sort of meeting that you will lead first thing in the morning. That's going to take place at the start of the shift. In order to be prepared for that, team leader will already have to have some information gathered, like you mentioned. So we required team leaders to start 10 minutes before the shift started. That gave them the time to get in, figure out, meet with their supervisor and figure out who is going to be there from the team today, who might be out from the team, and what had to run. Supervisor had already been there, got that information together so they could easily share it with the team leader. Team leader then goes back to their area, figures out, okay, this is who's here, who's not here. These are what needs to run. I can move my people around like this. Gets them prepared for their meeting. It also gives them a chance to jump on the computer, and most places use an ERP system, and you have to gather metrics from that. Or that, at least that's how we grabbed ours. Sometimes you might have to do it manually, but most of the numbers are going to be provided by a computer in today's day and age. So jump on, get their metrics for the day, be able to chart those out on the graphs, and that way you're fully prepared for the morning meeting. So our typical team leader's day started 10 minutes before the shift started. And then, shift start, have your morning meeting. After morning meeting, you move into everybody's off to their machines. Gives you a chance to get back to your desk, maybe sit down for a second, have a drink of water, whatever. Give them a couple of minutes to get situated, but then you want to start making your rounds. You got to go check on your team, make sure the machines are getting up and running. Sometimes there's startup procedures. There might be a problem with the startup procedure. That's some type of, we had red part tests in the automotive world. You know all about those.
Yep.
To make sure that all the sensors are working correctly. A lot of times there's quality issues that have triggered extra things to be added that now you have to test for before the shift begins. So you have all these things. If there's something wrong, team lead's got to jump on that and get that figured out. Is it an actual problem with the machine? Is there a problem with the part out of spec? All these different things all of a sudden happen in the automotive world, at least, when something goes wrong with those startup procedures. So get on those right away. Get the personnel there if you need to. But I mean, it, like we said, your shit show starts right off the bat. Something's going to go wrong somewhere.
Yep.
Other times we had floaters. They'd get in, get clocked into all the machines, start checking inventory. Oh, now inventory's off. So you let people know. Now you got to dig in, start counting parts maybe, and figure out where everything's at, and printing labels. And so it shit show begins right off the bat. But you want to make sure, get that meeting wrapped up, go take a quick second, gather your thoughts, and then hit the floor and make your rounds. You, like we said, help get the team situated. Other times there's going to be problems with the machine starting up. Maybe there was an issue from the shift before that they were just, oh, it's not a big deal. It's okay. They still got their numbers, but you have to fix it. So you got to get somebody coming in to fix an issue from the night before or the day before or whatever. So just make sure you're making your rounds, checking in with your team. Again, that gives you the opportunity to stop and say hi, good morning to everybody, and just see how they're doing. And as we mentioned, especially right now, it's a good time to just check on the morale, check on their behavior, see how they're doing. After that, if you have fires and you've gotten them taken care of, check back in with team members if they didn't have problems before. Just make sure everything's still going smooth. Then if maybe you have a chance to go sit back down again, and you're going to have more than likely some type of requirement for your job that you're working on, whether it be countermeasures for your area, for your equipment. You've got to be doing 5S. You've got to be doing all these different projects going on that, as you heard me mention in the supervisor episode, I made my rounds with my team leads one day per week to chat with them about how their personal projects were going. So this might be your time to work on that. This is probably going to be an hour or so after your shift begins is when you'll get a chance to stop and take a break. Go sit down and start working on some of this stuff. You'll have a few hours before break time, so sit down, take the opportunity to get going on some of it. Again, your job as a team leader is to make sure your team has what they need. So even if you are working on projects, I wouldn't spend more than probably a half hour or so actually sitting down working on that. Take a chance, get back up, walk around, check on your team. Sometimes they're not going to let you know right away when there's a problem. So make sure you're making those rounds, checking on them, watching their cycle times, and then that gives you an opportunity to get in. Maybe you need to step back and take some cycle times and watch how the equipment's running. Maybe that's part of the projects you're working on. So get up, don't sit down for too long. Your team's not going to like to see that. They want to see you up and moving around. Go check on them again and maybe take care of some of the other little tasks you've got. But really, that's most of the day is firefighting, relaying information, and checking back in on your team. There's not much in the way of structure beyond that. You're going to have break in there. Make sure after break, make sure you get back with your team. Make a quick round again. Make sure everybody's back from break. Sometimes people get hung up in the bathroom. Keep a record of that. If it becomes a pattern, it's something you got to address. You're looking for all these different productivity issues that arise before and after break times. So that's another good time to be up on your feet, making the rounds and just checking to see what's going on. And yeah, it's a constant battle of working on your little projects when you can, making the rounds with the team, putting out any fires that pop up. As we talked about, that's the biggest thing for the team lead is giving the team what they need.
Which is where I touched on That's where you start your servant leadership. That's where you start
Right.
going out of your way to make sure everybody has what they need. They have all the resources available to them that they need to do the job, and you just solve problems and take care of them. And your day could simply consist of just solving problems.
Yeah, you might bounce from one problem to the next.
So yeah, that's day in life of a team leader.
Yeah, not much added structure outside of what you had mentioned, but just a little bit more clarity to the mornings, I guess. And there is an actual beginning to the day in the factory setting where that you may not have that so much in the military setting, but
yeah, and it's all going to be industry dependent. But I would agree with typically the team leaders are going to need to show up a little bit earlier because you need the information.
right.
Your team can't do the job unless they have information, which you're the supplier of the information.
Right.
Which also means supervisors and whoever's higher than them needs to have information prior to that, which means they're likely to show up a little bit earlier too.
Mm-hmm.
You touched on you want to make sure as a team leader you're doing something. You're not sitting down for too long. And I can say from the perspective of people watching team leaders that are just doing the work, if they see you sitting down on your phone, playing around, dicking off, they're going to get pissed.
Oh yeah,
'Cause a lot of
I
people
wasn't
will-
saying that just because I
No, and
I know that.
that's why I'm kind of just bringing it
Yeah.
back up, because I've seen that and I've been that the person on the team looking at like, that's what you get to do as a supervisor, as a team leader. Like you can just sit around and fuck off all day long.
Yep.
Like no shit. No wonder why everybody wants that position.
Right.
But if you're actually doing your job and you're making improvements and you're working on efficiency and you're helping out, there should be no time to just sit around and fuck off like that.
Again, you're gonna have your moments where you have 5-10 minutes
Yep.
that holy shit, nothing's going on. I'm going to fuck off for a minute. But we're all gonna have those. And if we all treat each other with respect and as equals, it's going to be just that.
But don't.
All right. No, I know they're normally busting their ass. They're just, I'm going to help cover for them for a minute so they don't get in trouble.
Don't
hey,
take
dumbass,
advantage
knock
of
it
it.
off. Here, so-and-so's coming. Like,
Yep.
they're going to work together to,
Yeah, absolutely.
to cover each other.
And if they see that you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off all day long because you're busting your ass, they'll probably. I've been told before, like, hey, go take a break.
Right.
Like, go chill out for a little bit. Like,
Yep.
you look stressed.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're likely to be stressed. You should be stressed because that means you're doing something. You're providing value as a team leader.
Right.
There should be a level of stress that you should feel. If you don't feel any stress as a team leader, you're probably doing something wrong.
Probably, yes.
But yeah, I would make sure you don't take advantage of that. Make sure you don't. It's easy to let time get ahead of or away from you and realize that you've been sitting there for 20, 30 minutes. And that's just going to build animosity.
It'll be obvious in the team's performance.
Yep.
I mean, if you start to see people that numbers start going down,
They
not
stop
paying as
caring.
much attention, yeah, you're going to know something's going on. So maybe it's a time to look in the mirror a minute.
Just make sure you set a good example. Your team's going to follow in suit.
Lead by example. Can't say it enough. Got anything else to cover for a day in the life?
No, I think that pretty well covers it.
Good deal. We'll wrap her up here. Got any questions? Make sure to hit us up on social media. Twitter, we are at J2B Podcast. Instagram, Facebook, Just Two Brothers Podcast. If you don't already, make sure to follow us. We have all kinds of content related to our weekly episodes. Those come out Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday usually. So make sure to be following us for that. We'd love to hear what your thoughts are. What does your day in the life of you look like? If you're a team leader, let us know what it looks like. Is it similar? Is it drastically different? Let us know what we hit or missed on. So love to hear from you. With that, see ya.
Thanks for listening.